Let's cross now to the Cretan city of Kania and join Yanis Katsoumidis, who's a political and economic analyst. Thank you for being with us here on France 24. Let me begin by playing devil's advocate here. This idea that is being floated, that is going to be presented in Brussels in the coming hours, of having a crackdown on oil and cigarette smugglers, hasn't it been thought of before?
Well, as a matter of fact, it's been a subject that's been in the news for several years now. Several governments have been trying to crack down this illegal trade, but it's very hard vested interests that have prevented previous governments of doing so. It is good that the new government is pledging to crack down on this illegal and criminal activity. But we have to see in which real terms this can be realistic, can be effective, because it affects wholesale, retail, and also refineries, and also transportation, which is many facets of this trade. So it's a rather complicated issue, but if there is a political will, I think there are ways to crack this illegal trade.
You're saying if there is a political will, up to now there hasn't been?
Well, as a matter of fact, many times governments were held hostage by vested interests, because it's not only, let's say, the oligarchs who control the oil trade. There are wholesalers, retailers, gas owners, gas station owners. There are thousands of people around this gas trade. And also the much part of the oil goes to shipping. So it's a rather complicated issue that involves many people, not just tycoons or oligarchs.
Not just tycoons or oligarchs. Let me ask you about this, Yanis Katsoumidis. You saw in that report a week ago, the new finance minister was being described as a rock star and a heartthrob. Did he seem humbled there when you heard Yanis Varoufakis talking about a new phase of stabilization and growth?
Well, on Friday in the Eurogroup meeting, we saw a different Yanis Varoufakis than the one we have seen the previous weeks. A more realistic approach from the finance minister, and very close to European institutions' terms and regulations. Well, this is something that many Greeks had been waiting for, which is a decent, a fair compromise, because I believe the vast majority of Syriza voters were moderate center or center-left voters, and they are not for a real breakdown with the European Union. They just are very hard hit by the crisis, and they want to see a better deal for them, for Greece, and for the economy.
Are Greeks taking it on the chin? Because we've seen the reactions of some people within the Syriza party who are furious with the new prime minister.
Yes. Well, my impression is that the vast majority of the population, of the voters, were expecting a compromise. Although Syriza pre-election pledges were for a very hard approach towards the European Union, even tearing down the bailout agreements, tearing down the loan agreements. They have chosen, apparently, a more realistic approach. I think this has come as a relief to many citizens who don't want to break up with the European Union, because if you see polls indicating Greek people's stance towards the Euro membership, almost 80% of Greek population support the Euro membership. So what people want a stable Greece inside the Eurozone with better conditions, no more austerity, and incentives and investments for the Greek economy.
Okay, so from what you're saying, the ritual dance that followed the election has gone to script so far. What's going to happen, though, if they get that extra 4-month extension as is now expected?
Well, we have to see that there are 3 different stages. One stage will be tomorrow. Sometime tomorrow there will be a Eurogroup meeting via teleconference, where Eurogroup ministers will decide whether the proposals that Yanis Varoufakis will send later tonight are appropriate, are close to the agreement that they have been thinking. Also, these proposals have to be accepted by the German parliament, by the Bundestag, which is a very, very delicate issue. And I'm afraid that very unfortunate statements by Greek officials in recent weeks have infuriated many German members of the parliament who see very reluctantly in giving Greece another chance. So Mr. Schäuble, Ms. Merkel and other party whips of the governing coalition will have to do a lot of convincing to the German MPs to convince them to accept this deal for Greece.
Yanis Katsoumidis, what does your crystal ball tell you about what the situation of Greece will be like in 4 months when the bigger deadline comes?
Yes, exactly. That will be the end of June. There will be a deadline for an overall agreement, or let's say the end game for Greece. And that will be possibly a third bailout, a new loan arrangement, and possibly some relief for Greece's debt. But all that to happen, there has to be a broad political consensus in Greece, and also the Greek people will have to make a decision whether to adopt some strict policy that the Eurogroup will decide together with the Greek government eventually, or go to a referendum, which is something that I think would not be the best of outcomes, but still is a possibility.
All right, one final question for you. Yanis Katsoumidis, you're on the island of Crete, a choice tourist destination. What's the mood there right now after this historic election?
Yes. Well, it's one of the regions where Syriza got its most votes. And it was an old socialist bastion, but now most of the voters have gone to the Syriza because they want to see some hope. People had lost hope with the previous government. I don't want to put the blame on specific persons, but if you take the hope of the people, then you can win an election. And that was a crucial part. Especially in Crete, it is not suffering as much as urban centers like Athens or Thessaloniki, because in Athens there are parts of town which are real hard with poverty and homelessness and very harsh conditions. There are some very few homeless in Crete, but tourism and agricultural sector have helped the island to overcome much of the crisis.
All right, I want to thank you, Yanis Katsoumidis, for being with us here today on France 24.
I thank you.